Drink beer. Think beer. You're listening to Brew Bloods.
It never rains in the brew hall. That's an old German saying, allegedly.
Generic.
From Space Germany.
You sure it's not Earth Germany? I don't think we could... If it's old, we couldn't communicate with Space Germany.
Why couldn't we? We have radios. We have cell phones.
Well, yeah, we could now, but I'm saying, what does old mean? Is old like 1997 or is old like 1597?
I think it's just a German old.
Okay. Oh, it's just an old person saying
Yeah, it's
that?
just an old person. It's a German old that said it.
Never rains in the brew hall.
Never rains in the brew hall.
Eh?
I don't know why he sounded like an American old. Maybe he's from Fredericksburg down south in Texas.
Jeff Probst.
Jeff Probst. Also, a German old saying.
Right, of course.
Now, I will congratulate both of us on so far surviving Squirrel Awareness Month. The month of October.
I wasn't even aware that there was a Squirrel
Now,
Awareness Month.
I would remind you, sir, that this is different than the Squirrel Appreciation Day, which is in January. Today we're just being aware of squirrels. We're not appreciating them.
Sure.
There's a difference. When you're aware, you're always on the lookout for said squirrels.
Well, are you just like, yeah, that's a squirrel?
Yeah, you point
You don't
one
have
out.
to be on an active lookout, do you? You just
Well, I don't know.
There it is. There it is over there.
It depends. Are these squirrels menacing your house?
They could be. Then you'd be even more aware of them.
Maybe they're menacing your dogs like they do mine. They like to stand on the lower half of the tree until the dogs run out and they bolt up.
Yeah, they do that to
See?
all dogs.
I know. I'm just saying.
The dogs are definitely aware.
Yeah, exactly. This is a dog-centered month, is that they're very aware of squirrels.
But dogs are always aware. It doesn't matter if it's October or March.
But I don't think dogs participate in Squirrel Appreciation Day,
Probably not.
which is only in January. But you can only appreciate them for one day.
Like, oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then you move on.
What a nice little squirrel.
Does it have this specific day?
Do you got a little fluffy tail there, little squirrel? I appreciate you.
I appreciate how rat-like you are. Except you're furry, so then I'm not as scared of you.
You're a cute rodent, aren't you? Cute little rodent.
You live in the tree instead of the sewer, so everyone loves you.
Cute little rodent destroying my house.
Yeah.
Cute little rodent constantly running across my roof in the middle of the night, waking me up. You little
Do you have that happen?
Can I appreciate you? We used to have that until we cut back some of the trees.
Oh, okay.
So we, they were getting a little explodey in the back, so we shaved it down to just one, just basically the trunk with no branches.
Diarrhea explosion?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
How else do you get rid of branches?
Fair enough. Well, you said it was getting explodey. I didn't know what that meant.
You just drink some Bad Goose Island, and you go to town all over it.
That's the only way to get diarrhea.
Pretty much. So, and I will also, by the way, we should think about this. We're also recording this on Evaluate Your Life Day.
We should think about that.
So would you like to evaluate your life? How do you feel about your life?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I've evaluated my life now. Moving on. So let's talk about
Are we going to drink a beer today?
I don't know. That would require further evaluation.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, I was going to say that means it's a good life, right?
we'll re-evaluate that later down the line.
Okay, fair
Maybe in a
enough.
couple of segments.
Sounds
we
good.
may not review a beer. We may just
May just think beer.
may just end it down. Yeah, we may just think beer. We're not going to drink beer. Who wants to actually enjoy that product?
Who knows? Or if you could just drink a bunch of beer and not think about it, too.
I'll tell you, enjoy some beer. An alcoholic. And coming to us from the Journal of Alcohol and Alcoholism.
All right. My favorite journal.
I know, I keep my own.
I believe I have one at home. Yes.
I think we all have one. It's got a little locket on everything, so my mom doesn't see my journal.
Exactly.
Stop reading my journal, Mom!
It's under my side of the bed.
I don't want you to find out about the latest session of beer pong and how I lost it all.
I appreciate the lump it creates.
Just gotta sit here and appreciate my squirrel.
Exactly. As I drink.
I learned my appreciation by watching you, Dad.
Whoever that is.
Yeah, old Dad's not around.
I was going to say.
I mean, he's evaluating his life on Evaluate Your Life Day, and he's evaluated, and he's realized his dad's a complete asshat.
He's like, I don't want to be around these kids.
I'd rather
That's my evaluation.
I'd rather appreciate a squirrel as my father than celebrate my true father.
Yeah, that's fair enough. My squirrel dad is much more interesting.
Maybe he's half squirrel.
It's true. I'm watching you, son, as he's like gnawing away at an acorn.
Why does he sound like Trump all of a sudden?
You're tremendous. You live inside. I mean, everyone talks about it really all around the tree.
Everybody's telling me how much they appreciate me as a squirrel.
You know what? I did birth you.
I have many, many nuts in many, many trees all across the world. The most luxurious nuts.
I mean, no one will tell you, but I'll tell you.
I'm just here to show the truth.
I don't say it, but they're saying it. But I'm saying it.
But I'm saying it. Would you like some Trump nuts?
Exactly.
Trump squirrel nuts? So this squirrel was also reading this journal, Alcohol and Alcoholism, and they were basically trying to figure out why these researchers from the Friedrich Schiller University, Jena, in Germany, they wanted to explain why...
Do they explore Reinheitsgebot?
Of course. Also, they wanted to... On top of that, the further cause of the study was they wanted to find out why drinking hard liquor is more associated with death from not lizard disease, but liver disease.
Hey, guys.
Where's my appreciation day, guys?
I'm the lizard death guy.
But what they
generically and terribly named.
Basically, they found out that they fed...
I'm gonna go workshop that. Come up with something more creative.
Be right back.
Don't die till I come back.
Anyways, they got some mice drunk, and they found out that mice who drank hoppy beer experienced fewer damaging effects on the liver.
Oh.
And they said that basically they got some little mice steins, filled them up with some little mice hoppy beer, gave it to them in their little German mice steins.
Sure.
And then 12 hours later, after they are just, vomiting in the street, they had to call tiny mouse ambulances.
Sure.
There was a lot of destruction, a lot of mice on mice humping,
A lot of explosions
everywhere.
Yeah.
So 12 hours later, when the little mice cops have cleaned up the scene, they studied them, and they found out that the rodents who drank the hoppy beer displayed less buildup of fat in their livers than those who drank the pure alcohol.
Oh, okay.
And they said
drinking all these double and triple IPAs, it's really a healthy thing.
Exactly. I think they've got the food pyramid all wrong.
Sure.
The basis of the foundation of the food pyramid should be some triple hop beers.
Absolutely.
Maybe not Beechwood aged, but some triple hopped.
Right.
But maybe some nice triple IPAs would be nice. That should be the foundation of every just how you start your day. A nice triple IPA.
Just drink a vat of it.
Just drink, an entire vat.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about any of the other effects. It's not causing fat on the liver.
Doesn't hurt you at all.
Part.
Not going to impair your driving.
No.
Not going to impair your judgments.
I'm sure your job will be perfectly fine. You can do it the same way after drinking a vat of high ABV hoppy beer.
Your wife won't end up making love to a squirrel when she downs an entire vat of the triple IPA in the morning.
I didn't know you were going to bring that personal detail of yourself up. I mean, you going to be okay?
Look, I appreciate squirrels.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Sometimes that allows for certain acts that are a little more discreet.
You're like, I wouldn't normally allow it, but it's Squirrel Appreciation Day.
It's Squirrel Appreciation Day, and I'm aware of squirrels because it's a Squirrel Awareness Month. So, look, on that day...
You had to tolerate it, didn't you? I'm sorry. I know it was traumatic that you had to witness it, but...
Well, look, I have to appreciate... It's mandatory law that I have to appreciate the squirrel, and when it's Squirrel Appreciation Day on a random Tuesday in January...
Things happen.
Things get a little crazy. You smoke a little squirrel pot.
You probably drink a vat of beer that day after witnessing that to try to forget the memory.
I drink 2 vats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One in the morning, one in the night.
Because everything is served in a vat.
Of course. It is. We are in America, after all.
Exactly.
They did a control for the mice, though, and gave the control mice beer that was made without hops, and they showed about the same amount of fat buildup in their liver as the mice who drank pure alcohol.
Oh, so the hops are the little cleaners, huh?
Yeah, they can't necessarily explain why this is true, but they suspect that hops may decrease the formation of compounds called reactive oxygen species, which are known to be highly reactive and damaging to cells in the liver. Aggressive.
It does. It sounds very aggressive.
Interesting call. It's called species. Too. I thought that was like for living things.
Clearing out the fatty cells in your liver.
Hey, how's it going? My name's React.
Yeah, it sounds like a huge, some kind of guard at some kind of club or something. Or reactive control species.
Or it sounds like a douchey MMA brand, like reactive oxygen species.
That's true. It's the next tap out.
Exactly. So, Brewdog. They're a couple of silly Sammies. If you've ever seen their show on the, what's it called? It's not E! Network. It's not Spike anymore.
It's on the TV.
It's aimed at the GQ Network, I think? Sure, we'll go Esquire. It's Esquire.
That sounds kind of douchey.
Anyways, if you've seen the Brewdog show, they go travel around America. They're a couple of silly Sammies, like I said. And they made an American IPA in Scotland this year. James Watt and Martin Dickey, the co-founders of Brewdog. And it was called Elvis Juice. And it's a citrusy American IPA. And it's become like one of their brand leaders in the last year.
Is it stuff full of banana and peanut butter?
No, it's just citrus and hops, apparently.
Oh, okay. Why is that Elvis-y?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No clue to that. I'm not going to take the time to look up the description because that would take too much work. When I've highlighted...
That would take effort, yeah.
I've highlighted some excerpts on this page. Excerpts.
Makes sense.
That are relevant to the story, not to the actual core content of Elvis Juice.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But they are getting sued by Elvis Presley's estate. And so, as a reaction, the two of them, James and Martin, officially changed their names to Elvis in Scotland. So they are now Elvis Watt and Elvis Dickey.
Oh, so it can be their juice?
Yeah, so now they released a statement that said, Elvis Watt said, "We're caught in a trap and suggest the gray-suited hound dogs at the Presley estate recognize that the name Elvis is not exclusive. So, in an effort to patch it up, we've changed our names to highlight our burning love for the best grapefruit IPA out there. From this point forward, Elvis Juice is named after us, the brewers formerly known as James and Martin. We may even file a case against Mr. Presley for using our names in all of his records without our written permission." And to further celebrate this name change, they are offering a free half pint of Elvis Juice to any Elvis namesakes of the legal drinking age this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, so bold move, renaming yourself Elvis.
Yeah, just in that country, though, right?
I don't know. Does it apply internationally? Are there international name laws, or is it just an AKA?
I would imagine that it's probably an AKA, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
That would require knowing all kind of legalese.
That would require us having to go hire a lawyer.
That's not a thing. So I don't know about it.
Yeah.
Are you the stuff guy and I'm the thing guy?
No.
Or am I the stuff guy, you're the thing guy?
Law and names do not fall under stuff.
Okay.
Nor do they fall under things. They fall under names. And
That's
we don't
true.
have a professor nameologist here either.
You said that a little weird, but yeah, that's
Professor.
true. Professor. Yeah, that's interesting that Elvis... I understand why the estate would probably try to sue just because that's how people are. But at the same time, it's not exclusive.
Yeah,
Just being named Elvis is not exclusive to Elvis Presley.
Yeah, as long as they don't make... I guess it depends how... I haven't seen the label. If they make reference to maybe Hound Dog or something, or they have a caricature that looks like Elvis, okay, maybe so. But if it's just one of the standard issue Brewdog logos, or Legos...
Yeah, one of their Legos.
I don't see what they could really sue over, just using the name Elvis. I mean, why aren't they suing Elvis Andrus, the baseball man player?
Yeah, anyone named Elvis anywhere that's famous.
Okay, so I found a picture of the Elvis Juice can. It's just a red field with the Brewdog logo, and just says Elvis Juice. I don't see. I mean, I don't see the whole 360-degree view of the can, but it doesn't look like there's any reference to Elvis Presley on this.
Yeah, so it doesn't really sound like they have any kind of standing anyway, really, to sue.
So yeah, I mean, being a professional lawyer of beer, I'm going to say they have no grounds on which to stand.
Yeah,
case dismissed.
Yep, beer lawyers right here.
But
not really.
Time to take on a new case. We're going to get a little local on your ass. Something we haven't done in quite a while.
It's at least statewide.
At least I think they're playing outside the state now, right?
They're based here, best here, but they are at least throughout Texas. I don't know if they're everywhere, but they are.
Let's say somewhat in the southwest. Yes. Yeah. Anyways, our local Dallas brewery, Deep Ellum Brewing Company. Nothing makes fall feel better than the caramel malty flavors of brown ales. They're one of the great transition beers to enjoy before diving headfirst into the porters and stouts of the winter months. One of the earliest English ales, brown ales were first brewed around 800 years ago when malts were kilned over hardwood fires, giving the grain a brown color and a smoky flavor. The term brown ale wasn't introduced until the introduction of porters in the early 1700s. Before that, they were simply called ales because there was basically little delineation between beer styles. For the next 100 years, brown ales would be used to describe porters, stouts, and milds. It wasn't until the early 1800s that a distinction began to grow between styles, when brown ales were made by making a stout or porter first, and then reusing the mash to produce a brown ale. What we think of as brown ale today didn't come around until the late 1800s, when Mann's Brown Ale in England helped to relaunch the modern brown. But it was Newcastle Brown in 1925 that popularized the style. The style finally made it stateside in 1986 with Pete's Wicked Ale, a beer which also helped to establish the American-style brown ale. Like Bock beers, there are several recognized types of brown ales. English-style brown ales are copper to brown in color. Brown porters are medium to dark brown in color, with a low to medium malt sweetness and chocolate notes. Belgian-style Flanders are deep copper to brown in color. They have a strong lactic sourness and usually an oak or woody character to them. German-style brown ales, also known as Dusseldorf-style alt beer, are copper to brown in color, with malt and a hop character. Lastly, there's the American-style brown ale. Not surprising, it's also deep copper to brown in color with medium roasted malt caramel and a chocolate-like character. And also no surprise, the American-style brown ales are often more hopped than their counterparts. Brown ales typically come in around 3.3 to 5.2% ABV, which makes them one of the easier session styles around. Today we're taking on one of the, I don't know about quite grandfather, I would call them, like Franconia here in the area, or RAR, but they're certainly a father of the local beer craft scene. That's Deep Ellum Brewing Company.
They're one of the oldest locals.
Hey guys,
They're definitely one of the oldest.
it's me,
Are you deep?
Deep Ellum. How's it going?
That was great. That was great.
I'll be here just appreciating squirrels.
I'm sure you're not just going to leave right now?
See you later.
All right, that sounds good. But yeah, they're one of the originals. They're in that first wave of big breweries that open up around here. They're not, like you said, they're not Franconia, they're not RAR, but they're in that next wave.
And they're not quite new wave.
No, they're not new wave. They're in that second tier wave.
Yeah, they're just average wave. They're first wave, I guess. Well, they're not even first wave. They're second wave.
They're second wave. They're
definitely a wave.
They're in the wave of when craft beer started to really explode here.
Right.
They were the grandfathers of the original craft explosion era.
They were in the rising tide.
Franconia and RAR were the original craft breweries, but
Yeah.
that was not during the explosion, for sure.
Yeah, they're not first wave. They're not new wave. They're just wave.
Yeah. But they have had one of the bigger explosions of the local breweries, for sure.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. We've talked about Petacolis many times, and Petacolis and Deep Ellum opened up about the same time, actually. I believe he talked about that in the interview. Might have been off air, I can't remember, but they opened up around the same time. We've talked about Community being a quote-unquote large player, but none of those are near the distribution and the presence that Deep Ellum has all over the place.
Yeah, they're pretty saturated in this market and in the state.
Absolutely. I mean, any place you go,
At least in the major cities.
yeah, oh yeah, in the entire state for sure. If you go to like even your generic 7-Eleven or something, you can go anywhere and you'll probably find the Deep Ellum IPA somewhere in the shelves there. That'll be the craft. That'll be the craft option.
That or the Dallas Blonde. It's pretty.
Yeah, the Dallas Blonde too. One of those two will be somewhere. Right. Well, be even in like a CVS or a 7-Eleven. And to me, that's showing you have pretty wide distribution. You're not going to find very often. You're not going to find Community and these other ones at those places.
Yes, they're very well distributed.
Also on local taps. If you go to like a Gloria's or somewhere that's not as local and not like a standard pub bar type place, but they do have like, we want one craft beer tap. They're probably going to have the Deep Ellum IPA on there, along with a Lakewood Lager. You're probably going to get those too in a lot of those places.
I would say I don't have any proof to back this up, just by just casually mark one eyeballs here.
Right.
I would say they might be the best distributed brand in the city as far as outreach goes.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. And to give you an example of that, went to Austin City Limits this year, and their craft IPA option was Deep Ellum.
What kind of helicopter did you take to get to your VIP section?
I had to hitchhike.
Had to hitchhike on a helicopter?
Had to hitchhike and go down there to the
so what you're saying is
pits in the front row.
You took Ubercopter then to the VIP section.
That a thing?
That's what you call hitching these days.
Is that a thing?
Uber helicopter. What do you mean? Don't act like you. Every time you're in Dubai, you're taking your Uber helicopter.
I've never even heard about it. What is helicopter?
It's a flying thing that rotates in the air.
Oh, okay.
It's like a giant spinnaker.
Is that the official wording that they put in the dictionary? Helicopter, a flying thing that spins in the air.
It takes you to and fro.
Now, Mark, I know you don't get Deep Ellum beers very often, right? Like, you don't buy them, you don't consume them too often at the house or anything like that, right?
No, they're not one of my go-tos for sure. There's been certain beers that I really appreciated, like the coffee ale. I like quite a bit. That's a good one. When the cherry brown stout first came out, I liked that quite a bit. But other than that, I can't say that they're not one I usually have in my house. They're definitely a good standby, but I find myself reaching for others more often.
Yeah, they probably suffer from being around too long syndrome, which is a bad thing that we also fall into sometimes.
Like we talked about Sierra Nevada a couple weeks ago, and they're declining sales, and they need to mix things up. I think it's pretty much true for this market, is that we've had Deep Ellum for so long that maybe we don't appreciate them enough.
Yeah, and I think I still definitely appreciate their Dream Crusher. They have a couple that do stand out. Their Dream Crusher is a double IPA, Imperial double IPA. I think I would put that up against a lot of other national double IPAs. To be honest with you, I think it's every bit as good. And I think for a single IPA, their regular Deep Ellum IPA is very serviceable.
Yeah, it's a stalwart here, and it's a good standby IPA.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like a home run to me. It's not like definitely not the best IPA I've ever had. But if you're looking for a good standby, just it's going to be good.
Yeah,
go for that IPA.
And it's probably going to be available, like we talked about.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what they were shooting for. I'm guessing they were not shooting to overtop, something like a Pliny or something. They were looking for a solid standby IPA, and that's what they got.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Pliny's a double, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, I'm just saying iconic IPAs is what I'm comparing it to.
But to go through some of their other beers that they have, just since we're talking about them anyway, their IPA gets a 95 and a 95 in style, so I mean that's pretty highly rated. Their Dream Crusher gets a 91 and for some reason a 56 in style, which I really don't understand.
Yeah, that's a huge disparity.
I don't see what about it doesn't fall in the style of a double IPA. I mean, it hits all the standard notes in my opinion, but I guess others disagree. They have the Double Brown Stout, gets a 79 and a 45 in style. The Rye Pilsner, which I'm kind of with you. I'm not really a Pilsner fan or a Rye fan, so I never get that one. But that gets a 75. Oddly enough, the Dallas Blonde, which is another very popular one, it's definitely second to their regular IPA, only gets a 48. But
and this is an interesting dichotomy again. So we have several in this category. First, we had the Dream Crusher, which had a 91 overall, 56 in style. Then we had the Rye Pilsner, which had a 75 overall, but a 97 in style.
Yeah.
And then you have the Dallas Blonde here, which is a 48 overall, but an 84 in style.
Yeah. Seems weird.
It's a weird disparity there. I don't know what could be driving that. It's like people are either rating... I think when you have to rate beer, though, I think you have to rate it both styles, don't you? Or both categories?
I think you do, yeah.
So I don't understand how... I don't know. It's just so weird. It's a weird dichotomy.
And I think all of these... all the ones that I would drink, the Brown Stout, the Dream Crusher. The Dream Crusher stands out a little bit. I already said, so I'll take that out. But the IPA, the Blonde, and the Brown, I think those are all very serviceable, down the middle road, good beers. I don't really understand the 48 low rating. Probably 95, I think, might be a little high for the IPA too, but. Again, it's not. There's nothing wrong with any of these. I think they all. Yeah. I think they all fit in the category, and I think they all taste fine. I don't understand such a hate for the Blonde.
I don't either.
I think it's every bit as good as any other Blonde I've had.
And here's another one. The final one on the list here, the Darkest Hour, gets 88 overall, but a 33 in style.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand having a little bit of variation between the two because one might not be as good an example in that style. For sure, that makes sense. But when you have such a high score as 88. To only get a 33 in style? I mean, what category are you expecting this beer to sit in?
Right.
Are they saying it belongs in like a rye category or something? I mean, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's totally in the wrong category and it should have never been there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I haven't had that beer in a long while, so I can't really speak to it. But maybe that's true. But I find that really hard to believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So weird numbers on Rate Beer today.
Yeah, that's some of the strangest we've had.
Now, the beer we're taking on today is called the Four Swords, and they released the Four Swords back in 2013, I believe, first, and they are now releasing the barrel-aged version of the Four Swords, and it's a Belgian Quad. Comes at a 9.5% ABV with a IBU of 44, and it should be served in a Trappist glass.
Now, for anybody out there that tries to get this, the only one that they're actively producing is the 2016. The one we're doing today is a 2015, but there is plenty of that still available if you're local in the Dallas area, at least.
Yeah, so the description on this beer is not to be taken lightly. Inspired by the strong dark ales from the Trappist monastic brewers of Belgium, you'll notice a big surge of fruity esters on the nose. Think bubblegum, spices, and stone fruits.
Okay.
You're thinking about it?
Yeah, I'm thinking
This is the key part. We're not drinking yet. You have to be thinking. The aromatics lead to the imbiber to a full-bodied malt profile laced with caramel and dark fruit flavors. We used a traditional Abbey Ale yeast strain and fermented the beer at a warmer than usual temperature, I assume they meant there, is that a word, to coax the yeast into producing these flavors. All right, well, let's find out about the history of Deep Ellum Brewing Company.
Deep Ellum Brewing was founded in 2011 by Scott Freeling, James Peel, and John Reardon. They opened under the name of the iconic Dallas neighborhood in which they reside. They are also the first Dallas area brewery to be based in Dallas proper. They served their first keg at a local Deep Ellum bar on 11/11/2011 and have gone on to become one of the most popular Dallas area breweries. As of March 2016, they now distribute to all of Texas. They feature a group of regular beers including their Dallas Blonde, Local Legend, a sweet milk stout, Double Brown Stout, a Baltic Porter, Nito Bandito, an Imperial Mexican Lager, as well as a few IPA variants. Their signature beer, however, is still their 7% Deep Ellum IPA. This beer was first introduced in January 2012, yet it remains the best seller for the brewery.
So the BJCP for a Belgian Quad is that aroma-wise, it should be complex with a rich malty sweetness, significant alcohol, and an optional light to moderate spiciness. Hops, if present, are usually low. Appearance-wise, should be deep amber to coppery brown in color. Should be huge, dense, smoothie, persistent cream to light tan-colored head, and can be somewhat hazy. Flavor is similar to the aroma. It should be moderately malty and sweet on the palate. Finish is variable depending on the interpretation. The Trappist versions should be dry to dry, moderately dry to dry. Abbey versions can be medium to dry to sweet, and should be low bitterness overall. Alcohol will provide some balance to the malt, and it should be overall balanced. Mouthfeel is carbonation, high carbonation but no bite, smooth but noticeable alcohol warmth, and overall impression is that it should be dark, very rich, complex, and of course in the Belgian strong ale style. Complex, rich, smooth, and dangerous, much like our show.
Ooh.
Commercial examples include the St. Bernardus Abbot 12, I forget how you say that, Chimay Grand Reserve Blue, the Golden Drac, the Lost Abbey Judgment Day, and the Russian River Salvation.
Yeah, now to recap the overall ratings for this one, Rate Beer did give it a 97 overall and a 91 in style, so they actually had something kind of coordinate there, something from Deep Ellum. And then Untapped gives it a 4.12 on 1,502 unique reviews. So, decent amount of reviews for 2015, and Beer Advocate had no score.
Yeah.
But that's 4.12, like we said before on Untapped. That's doing pretty well. That's pretty high. And then a 97 overall. So I would expect that this beer should be pretty tasty. It's one of their highest rated beers. My one concern is that Belgians don't always tend to be in my favorite style, but I'm hoping that the wine barrels
And you're talking about you're talking about the people, not the beer.
Right, exactly.
That you are just anti-Belgian. If there's anything if you have somewhat of Belgian descent at all.
Well, anything Belgian. The beer or the people.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about just one.
Anytime you see one, Belgian or beer, you bite your thumb at them.
But I do...
Constantly biting your thumb.
Well, yeah, of course. I do that anyway.
And you slap them with your leather glove that you're always wearing.
And then I walk paces away from them.
So while you swish your hips.
It's really weird, yeah. And they often don't know what the hell's going on. But
what is going on?
Exactly. But... they just tend to be earthy.
More of a Swedish accent than
yeah, it was.
Belgian.
Yeah. I tried to roll past it, and hopefully no one noticed. But I just feel like they tend to be too earthy a lot of times, and that's not necessarily my favorite flavor. I don't hate it, but it's not like lager disgust. I mean, lager's the most disgusting,
right?
But if there was a lager people, they'd be the most hated by me.
You're just not a fan of the earthy tones,
right? Exactly.
Much like Kwame from Captain Planet was your least favorite Planeteer because he was the Planeteer of Earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
You always wished somebody to rain blood down on Kwame's home village.
I wanted to cut him. Yeah, basically.
Wanted to cut him with a rock.
Absolutely.
And then not bury him in the earth.
Right, no. I don't want him to return to his homeland.
No, of course not.
Because the earth is nasty.
Earth is disgusting.
But it's the most disgusting flavor to add to beer.
And he was the most disgusting Planeteer.
Right, exactly. If there was a lager Planeteer, he would have been more disgusting.
Well, yeah.
What are your thoughts, Mark? What are you
Wind, water, lager. What?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Expectations for this. Being that it was aged, I didn't realize. I thought for some reason I had it in my mind that there was the Cabernet Four Swords, and then they'd introduced a separate whiskey barrel aged Four Swords.
Well, that shows what's wrong with your mind.
I know. I don't know what's going on these days. It's like I'm living in another world, and maybe I need some meds.
Well, you basically live in this one room in this one chair for 6 days a week and don't go anywhere. So
that's true.
It's hard to know what's going on in the outside world.
And really, we're sitting here on Evaluate Your Life Day, and I'm really starting to reevaluate all the choices I've made. That I've only left the house twice this week. One to see Idiocracy on the big screen with you, and the second to feed my mother-in-law's cats while she's away in Spain.
How beaten does that sound?
And keep in mind, she only lives across the street.
Right.
So
You didn't even put on pants for that.
no, I ran screaming nude across the highway there.
Of course, yeah.
Across the street. And that's the only 2 times I left the house this week. Now, I had plans. I had some really ambitious plans to leave the house to go up to my office real quick.
Oh yeah,
But those plans got scuttled. So
that is very ambitious.
I mean, talk about living a life of adventure right there.
that's like a town away.
You could just call me Indiana Jones Jr. over here.
Basically, yes.
Just wait.
That is a whole town away. That's crazy.
Yeah, a film about my life might be the most boring thing you've ever seen.
I think it's like a 15-minute drive if there's no traffic.
Guy who sits here and programs in the dark for 10 hours a day. How exciting.
with a bunch of animals all around him.
It's like the start of The Matrix, but without any energy.
Right. Exactly. It's like the creator of the Matrix.
Exactly.
Just sitting there. It's like if they showed the coding of creating the Matrix.
Exactly.
But none of the activity that actually went on.
Yeah, it was just that for a 10-hour movie,
Right.
a 10-hour epic of that.
That sounds great, doesn't
Just a fat guy sitting in gym shorts in his office chair in a dark room programming for 10 hours a day.
Coming to a screen near you.
In a world where one guy never leaves his chair and never leaves the house.
He appears to be growing into it. They zoom in.
He's getting fatter by the minute.
I think he took another drink of water.
He's feeding the dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
That's where he walks downstairs.
this is the benefit of having the Amazon on-demand culture now, is
Right.
that I can have everything sent to me just about. I don't ever have to leave the house.
That is true. You can even have liquor delivered. You don't
That's
even have
true.
to get your beer anywhere else now.
Well, let's hope this beer is a little more high energy, but for
Yes.
some reason I had in my mind again that this will be whiskey barrel aged. And
We really went down a rabbit hole there about your mind.
I know. It's
And how
evaluate
it's
your life
formed.
day. You can't help it. It's
That's
law.
true.
We have to be, throughout the show, we have to evaluate somebody's life.
That is
So
true.
here we are. But I didn't, I know I've had, now that you said that, I know I've had the Cabernet before, so we'll see if it lives up to what I remember. But I'm expecting it to have, obviously, being aged in Cabernet barrels, have a red wine quality to it, a vinous quality to it. Going to taste
Vinous. That's nice.
somewhat, maybe have hints, shades, evening shades of Merlot, perhaps Cabernet, obviously. Those darker,
Obviously.
The darker, redder wines. Maybe a little smoothness to it. May kind of round out the palate a little bit.
I expect it to taste like a Chardonnay.
Do you know? I was expecting some Jameson. I don't know why I said Merlot, but I did.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of red wine, and that's the first one that jumped in my mind. I'm not drinking effing Merlot.
I was going to say, I don't drink Effin Merlot.
But the
Maybe
aroma,
a nice Pinot.
So what are you expecting out of this beer?
I already said.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on then.
I said it and then pitched it to you.
Yeah, well, no pitching. The aroma on this beer, the reminder BJCP, should be complex with a rich malty sweetness, significant alcohol, and maybe a little bit of spiciness.
Now, it's only supposed to pour with a huge head, right? It's not supposed to keep that?
It doesn't really say, well, we're not talking about appearance yet, so.
I'm just asking.
Well, we're not there yet.
I'm teasing it. That's a tease.
Well, you didn't tease. You didn't say we're going to talk about the head.
Okay.
You said,
I didn't get into it. I
said,
just asked.
what
if
our
it's supposed to have
head?
that.
What our head? You're asking too early.
Well, we'll find out why I asked that after we go over aroma. Is that a tease?
That's a tease. Now, I don't notice a lot of dark malt here. I think the Cabernet aroma is definitely overtaking any malt smell.
Man,
here.
it smells exactly like a cab. Like Cabernet, not like...
not like a yellow
City cab.
not like a broken down yellow cab out of
Right.
the bowels of New York City. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's maybe slight dark malt, but I mean, mostly it's definitely Cabernet.
I don't get it at all. I mean, it's
There's
definitely
almost there's almost like a hint, maybe a hint of a chocolatey smell or something, but it's mostly Cabernet.
maybe a little bit, but it's like 99% Cabernet, 1%
Cabernet.
1% some sort of chocolatey, malty smell
Right.
there.
Well, yeah. Well, we're in agreement. Cabernet is the
Yes,
prominent, for
definitely very prominent.
sure. And again, this is a year. This is a year age too, because it did come out.
True.
In 2015.
Good point.
Just to make that point.
Appearance should be deep amber to coppery brown in color. I would say this leads. I don't know. It's almost to brown, to a brown ale appearance.
It's brown, maybe cola colored a little bit.
I wouldn't go coppery brown. Coppery, you think of copper, you tend to think something a little more, definitely lighter for sure.
Based on the limited light I have from my computer monitor, it almost looks a little soda-y, like a little cola-y.
Yeah, it's not unlike a Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Perhaps a Pepsi if you're a Pepsi man. If you're evaluating your choices today, and you
Dr.
decide to
Pepper,
go Pepsi.
I mean, anything. Anything
Yeah, any of
that's
the,
like a soda.
the darker soft drinks that they've added
Right.
coloring to because they don't really need to add color to it because it's naturally clear.
For the
Yes.
nationwide audience, maybe Mr. Pibb.
Yeah, maybe Mr. Pibb, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Pibb, there was a time in my life when I preferred the Mr. Pibb to the Dr. Pepper.
Oh, well, that was a bad time.
Look, they were dark times in my youth. Definitely, but it's not a Dr. Thunder now that you can get from like a Kroger or
That's
Albertsons.
true. Yeah.
Not quite a Dr.
Nothing's
Thunder.
a Dr. Thunder.
But Mr. Pibb has its place in this world. Has its place in the soft drink world.
It's like Miss Lemon Lime or whatever they come out with.
Or Thunder Mountain is opposed to Mountain Dew.
Right. But yeah, it's definitely carbonated too, like a soda.
It's
calmed. It's calmed a bit, but when you poured it, it was super carbonated.
Yeah, it was very bubbly. Poured a decent sized head, not chunky at all, but receded to just a nice. Now we are drinking these. Apparently my Trappist glasses are packed away, so we're drinking these out of what do you call them, tulip glasses. So it's a little bit different than intended, but
he has to be on the move from the prairie mob at any moment.
That's right. I'm always on the move.
Everything's packed.
I have to pack up my white panel van at any point and flee.
Right, exactly. So can't have all those glasses out at once.
Just toss candy at the kids' heads as I'm going down.
But that was the head tease. That now it has no head.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the conclusion of the tease. That's the payoff.
And the flavor on this beer should be moderately malty to sweet on the palate, and of course the finish can vary depending on their preferred style. Sure. And the bitterness should be low.
Bitterness is low.
That's a lot more vinous than I remember it being. I remember it being initially, when I drank this, whenever it first came out, a lot more, it definitely lent a lightness to the flavors, but it was a little bit sharp at the time. Now that we've aged this a year, it's a lot more rounded out on the bottom. It's good. It's definitely a lot more like drinking a Cabernet.
Wow, yeah. I was going to say, that's a lot like drinking a Cabernet.
It's like Cabernet with a little bit of carbonation head on it.
A little carbonation, a little bit of, again, some slight, almost chocolatey, candy taste that's on top of a regular Cabernet. Some people said candied plums. I don't know. I could maybe kind of go along with that.
I get some raspberry from that, for sure.
There's like a little fruitiness. There's a little fruitiness, almost a little chocolatiness, and then definitely a lot of cab flavor.
A lot of cab flavor.
Which, by Belgian Quad standards, this doesn't taste like most any Belgian I've ever had.
Yeah, there's no earthiness to this beer.
Yeah.
Kwame has been shot in the head by Dustin for this
Absolutely.
beer, or actually, I guess by Deep Ellum, they shot him in the head.
Yeah.
And luckily, they didn't pour him into the mash as an adjunct. There's no Kwame adjunct in this beer.
No, they just took him out.
As far as I know. Now, maybe that's the secret to the recipe, is that they shot Kwame in the head and then poured him into their vats. I don't know. Can't say.
Maybe he's like a deep dive part of this, but
maybe
he's not very present.
Maybe it's like Soylent Green.
Maybe there's some balance in there that we're not recognizing that it does balance it out.
And it's Kwame DNA.
Absolutely.
I think that's what it is. So maybe his Planeteer ring sucked up all the earthy flavors, sucked it all into
into his dead
expelled it.
corpse.
Yeah, when they were sparging, it sparged all the earthy flavors out.
Yeah.
It just leaves nice flavors of Kwame in the middle.
Yeah, there's very... you'd have to search for it to find it, and it's so limited, it's not even really worth... I wouldn't even list it as really one of the tastes.
Now, it's a lot of very, very fruity, but it's not as sharp as it used to be back when it first came out in 2015. Mm-hmm. Very well-rounded on the bottom. If you're a wine man, or a wine lady, if you prefer wine, or if you know somebody that is not a beer fan, but they prefer wine... I think this is definitely the beer I would go for if you can get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Grab one of these and say, you don't have to drink any Effin Merlot, but you can't drink Cabernet.
Hey, wino.
Yeah, guy with
drink this.
The brown. Why were they winos?
I don't know.
I mean, back in the day, let's be honest, everybody was drinking liquor.
But you're a wino.
But you're a wino.
Right.
But you prefer the Colt 45, you prefer the Mad Dog 2020.
But I'm applying that moniker to real winos.
Right, to real winos.
I'm not talking about liquor people that you throw that on. Like, that's not really the label they...
Whatever random logo we give to homeless.
Right.
Right. To degenerates overall. You're speaking to the venophiles.
Sure.
The real winos.
Degenerates are winos, right? Just in general, no matter what degenerate activity you're doing.
It doesn't matter if you're a sexual degenerate. You're a wino.
Of course.
You're a sexual wino, but you're still a wino.
And you're going to the loony bin.
Of course. All hopped up.
Hopped up in the loony bin.
Hopped up in the loony bin, doing drugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doing dope. Has he been doing that?
Doping up. Yeah.
Doping up. Doping up on that Four Swords from Deep Ellum.
Shooting up that marijuana.
Killing them some Kwame. Mm-hmm. But this is definitely a beer I would give to a venophile and say, hey, you like Cabernet, try this beer. Because it's
is that what you would say?
It's like, hey guy, let me make a professional pitch.
Let me write that script down in case I ever come across someone.
Hi, my name's Mark from the Brew Bloods podcast, where we like to drink beer and think beer. I understand that you're a wino, and you prefer a nice wine in your hand as opposed to a beer. how about you try the Four Swords barrel-aged in a Cabernet barrel from Deep Ellum?
You're a wino or a vino, apparently.
Or a vino.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just a sexual degenerate. You prefer... You're still a wino, so hey, you need something to lube up before you get into your sexual activities. Try a Four Swords from Deep Ellum, aged in Cabernet barrels.
Right.
2015. But it's very much a wine-like beer. It's gotten more vinous over the last year. All that aside, yeah. Now, the question is, when you try to fit it in the category of a Belgian quad,
which it oddly gets a high rating in the category, which I would say this one is the least like the category out of any of those other ones that they are in style, compared to all the other ones that they gave such a low rating for being in style.
Well, so the overall impression, according to BJCP, is that dark, very rich, and complex, and a very strong Belgian ale. So it's strong, 11%.
Sure.
It's smooth, for sure, because it has the nice wine bottom on it.
Sure.
It's dangerous, obviously, because of the ABV. Very rich.
Dangerous.
Very dark. So I question, to me, it does kind of apply to everything that is expected out of this beer. Now, is it a traditional Belgian and then it has those overly earthy, qualmy qualities? No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But if I'm going officially by their styles here,
I guess you're right.
I think it's complex, it's rich, and it's very strong. But, what you don't get a lot of... the alcohol here is very subdued. It's there,
That's true.
But you would expect that it might be a little bit stronger, especially at 11%, but it's very well masked by those Cabernet flavors.
Yeah, that is true. It's 10.5, technically.
10.5? Okay.
Yeah, but still.
Anyways, what's 0.5% between drunk friends?
And did we talk about the label at all? It's probably one of the most unique labels.
Yeah, this is, they're definitely mimicking a traditional Belgian font on their logo. It's a black field, it says Four Swords in white and gold, and it's like a wine label, to be honest. It's like if they mixed a wine label with a Belgian beer label. Because for Four Swords, they use the Belgian font, a sort of traditional Belgian font, and then mix it with the rest is kind of like a wine label. So it fits. It's very appropriate to the style.
Yeah, because mostly Deep Ellum, their normal logo is a smiley face that has a beer for the smile, like a beer bottle.
Yeah.
And they put that on almost everything, but I think they do it on, almost everything except special releases. And this is one of those that, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have the bottle in front of me, but I don't believe it has that on there, does it?
Nope.
Yeah, so this is one of the few that does not carry that distinctive Suicide Squad looking logo that Deep Ellum
that's true.
has.
It did look a lot like Suicide Squad. Good point.
So, ratings. You want to rate, Mark?
Sure.
All right.
Having had this beer before, I expected something that was going to be more sharp, and didn't get that, just based on what I've had before. But that was a year ago. Obviously, it's been sitting here aging for over a year now. And I think it represents itself a lot better in the second year than it did the first year. I remember when I first had this at Good Friend, a local pub brewery. I remember I had it, and I thought it was okay. I had it off the tap, and I thought it was okay.
You suckled directly off the tap?
Of course. They recognized me when I come in. They're like, here's the guy who appreciates squirrels. Come suckle from our taps.
Exactly.
He
puts his mouth over it like people do for water fountains.
Yeah.
And just pours it.
I remember liking it, but not loving it at the time. I think, and that's why I never picked up a bottle of it.
Because that's kind of his feeling about Deep Ellum overall.
Yes, exactly.
Liking it and not loving it.
Exactly. But no, I think a year later, I think this is a beer that's meant to be aged, and I think it gets, at least so far, at least in 1 year's time, I think it represents itself quite well now. And being something that's Cabernet aged, that's definitely what you get in your face. Now, some of you might not like the Cabernet, how heavy the Cabernet flavors are, and I can appreciate that if you're looking for a more balanced quad. This is not your quad. This is not the quad for you.
Right.
You want something a little more subdued, and this is not it. Because I will say it's not very well balanced in flavor. You don't get, there's no malt here in this flavor. No cereal. It's all Cabernet with when I say Cabernet, I mean the darker fruits, the evil fruits, your plums, your raspberries, a little bit of chocolate notes. It's a very rich, fruity beer. Typical notes that you would find in a Cabernet.
Right.
But it's overpowering within that beer. I personally, just going for an overall impression, I really like this beer. I think it is a standout in the barrel-aged series because it's so different. Normally, you're going to get those thicker, bourbony flavors out of that, or maybe a little bit lighter out of a Scotch barrel. I just because they took a chance, they took a lark here and did it a different way.
They took a chance on this?
Took a chance on it. I think it works really well. It represents the Cabernet quite well. I think it's great for someone if they're trying to transition from wine, trying to get into the beer world. It's a great beer for them. Not being a quad fan, a Belgian quad fan, typically either, I'm not a big Kwame fan. I like this beer a lot, so I'm not going to go within style. As usual, I'm going to go off overall impression. I think I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more hot alcohol off of this. Just a little bit more. A little bit more alcohol. That's it.
Yeah.
I have very, very minor complaints here. Maybe a little bit more head retention or a little bit the carbonation that was there in the beginning. Maybe have that. I think it would play nicely. It's a little bit carbonated as is, but I think a little bit more carbonation would play nicely on the tongue with the Cabernet flavors. Just a little jungle gym on your tongue of flavors. But otherwise, it's a great beer. So I'm going to give this beer 4.25 out of 5.
Wow. Nice. I'm impressed with all your highly rated beers lately. I guess everything's been good lately. So
yeah, we've had a good run here.
We've had a pretty good run. Pretty good little run ever since we went really down in the depths with Coors. But everything else since then, it's been better.
Yeah, unless you count Rogue a couple weeks ago.
Well, but even that wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Hey, I do have the Rogue Sriracha beer we can try at some point.
We'll just do Rogue every 2 months. Over and over and over again. Yeah. We'll go through their entire
until we finally
catalog.
get one we like. Yeah.
Well, we'll bring the brown stout or the chocolate stout into real canon, and then we can say that we actually had one we liked. But anyway, yeah, I expected this to be pretty solid given the ratings on it. I expected myself though to not like it as much, just because, like you and like you talked about, Belgian quads are the style that I stay away from, probably second to lagers. I definitely take a Belgian quad over a lager, but it's not one I never seek them out. I never go for Trappist beers. I never go for any of that stuff. So I came in kind of feeling like I probably wasn't going to like it as much, but the rating was so high, I had hope that it would be one that would actually, I don't know, maybe turn me around on the quad. And I think it did. It does a really good job of balancing out the earthy tones that often come along with a Belgian quad. I feel like Belgian quads a lot of times kind of dry you out a little bit and dry the tongue out. It's like licking sand or licking dirt or something, and a little bit of that can be okay.
This is definitely a medium body dryness to it.
Yeah, but a little bit of that can be okay. But if you have a lot of that, I don't know. I feel like I get shriveled up and want to just drink a ton of water and not drink anything else for the rest of the day.
You're like the Keystone beer face guy.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's just the quad effect, the Belgian quad effect.
That's just the effect you get when you're near any Belgians in general. Anything Belgian,
that's true too.
You get prune face. Just what happens. It's an allergic reaction. There's nothing to be done about it.
That is very true.
They have yet to invent an allergy serum for Belgians. Or for anything Belgian.
If I could get that, maybe I would embrace this category.
It's a very rare condition.
But for now, I can't. Yeah, it's a disease, Mark. I don't like to talk about much. Kind of like the squirrel sex thing that you did. It's stuff that we want to keep secret, but we can't.
Yeah,
I understand. I do think, and this isn't really to try to say that you don't like Deep Ellum, because I've been joking around with you a little bit off air on that, but I do think I tend to like their beers a little more than you do. And I do reach for them a little more than you do. I actually go for their Easy Peasy IPA, and I go for their regular IPA a lot for just session. If I want to have something in the fridge that I know is a good IPA and I want to drink it, and it's very easy to get, I tend to go for those. Or if I want just a really good double IPA, I will get their Dream Crusher a lot. So I tend to stay on that side of their house. I'm not as big of a fan of their stouts and other things generally, but this one is an exception. It's probably, I'm going to make a very bold claim, probably the best Belgian quad I've ever had. And the Cabernet barrel-aged version is definitely the thing that contributes to it, because I've had the regular Four Swords before, and it wasn't as good as this, I'll put it that way. The ratings would suggest that too, because I believe that one only gets a 79 instead of a 97. So adding the Cabernet barrel-aged element to this was great. It was a great experiment, and it paid off. So I would say I will give this one... I'll give this one a 4.5 out of 5. I like it that much.
Giving us a final score of... 4.375.
Man, it's been nice to have a nice run of beers.
It is. I think some are going to accuse us of being shills, but that's okay.
Why would we?
Why?
I mean, like we said, we don't... Deep Ellum's not even a favorite amongst us, especially on your end. And
of course.
Well, you don't reach for him. You said you don't reach for him.
Yeah, you're right.
So the fact that we gave him a high rating, that's definitely not being a shill.
Yeah. And I was going to say one thing I thought of while you were talking, that if I had to give a name to this beer, because I think it's appropriate, this is a bit of an allusion to Michael Jackson. I'm going to call this Jesus Juice, because it does remind me of the sacrificial wine you get in church sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not quite as bad as your grape syrupy wine like you get in church or whatever, but it is definitely Jesus Juice and a nod to Michael Jackson's...
Not quite as bad. That makes it sound like this isn't very good.
let's just say activities with Macaulay Culkin. No, it's the good version.
Oh, okay.
It's like if you were to, you're gonna get a follower, a Christian, tipsy. You get him this Jeezy Juice, Jeezy Juice, Jesus Juice, or Jeezy.
Mark hasn't drank a lot lately, so this 10.5 might be hitting him.
No, the only times I'm drinking now are when we're recording the show. So yeah, it's hitting me kind of quickly. But your Jeezy Juice, Jeezy Jesus Juice, yeah. If you want to get your fellow Christian drunk, this is what you get them, the Jesus Juice.
Exactly.
I know.
Don't tell them it's a beer. Just tell them it's a wine.
Right. This is your Jesus Juice.
Because who isn't looking to get their fellow Christians drunk?
Hey guys, let's praise the Lord and get smashed. Sing a little River of God.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for listening to the
Anything
show.
from Carmen.
The fight.
Exactly.
The first concert I ever went to was...
W. Smith.
Yeah. The first concert I ever went to was Carmen. And I remember he sang that song live, the one song I can really think of these days, with his hair helmet. But, yeah, first concert was in Taylor County Coliseum back in the day, West Texas.
Right.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for all your support. If you like this show, you might like our other show called The Break Room. You can find it at breakroom.tv.
Yeah. It is out there.
Leave us a review on iTunes. It does help us helps people find us, basically. We'd appreciate that. Thanks to Stefan for this week's education segment. Check us out on the social networks, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat once in a while. If you have feedback on the show, you can email us at brewbloodshow@gmail.com. Call us 469-573-BEER. That's 469-573-2337. We'll catch you guys next week for episode 74. Belgian Probst.
Probst. For Mark, I'm Dustin.
Oh, yeah. For Dustin, I'm Mark. For Kwame, I'm Mark.
Poor Kwame. R.I.P. But not really.
Kwame is the new Harambe.